There's no doubt that the post-Brexit immigration policy will have far-reaching implications, especially for employers that employ EU migrant labour. To date, they've enjoyed free movement of labour, which has allowed them to employ EU migrants at no cost, with no bureaucracy and in very quick time. However, that looks set to stop as a result of the migration restrictions that now seem inevitable in the years ahead. Well, we've seen an increase of 1.2 million EU nationals in employment in the UK over the past decade, which reflects the high demand for migrant labour, but also the ready supply of EU migrants who have really sought the opportunities in the UK because of relatively high levels of unemployment, especially in southern European countries. I think it's coming at a time when the UK economy has generated a high number of jobs, especially in certain sectors. So if you take hospitality and retail, for instance, you now have a situation where 500,000 EU nationals are employed in that sector. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have financial services and business services who employ a similar proportion of EU nationals. So the skills distribution is very broad based. In terms of its prevalence, construction and our healthcare system are also heavily reliant on EU nationals. You have, on the one hand, many employers reporting that they simply cannot fill vacancies with local applicants, and that's why they turn to EU nationals. Some say that they make strenuous efforts to do so, but still find it very difficult, and that's partly due to the relatively, historically high levels of employment at the moment. In addition, the other key finding from the report is that they say that EU nationals employ greater levels of flexibility, especially in relation to working hours and in particular antisocial hours. And lastly, again, reflecting that sort of high-end, high-value productivity contribution that EU nationals bring, job-specific and technical skills are a key reason, because they say they simply can't find the skills in the UK economy. The first recommendation is for the government to abandon its target to bring net migration down to the tens of thousands. That policy has not achieved anything since its introduction in 2010. We've not seen net migration come down to the tens of thousands for almost 20 years, and it will do little to respond to the fluctuations in labour demand and the overall fortunes of the economy. So that's the first one. And the second one, which came across very forcefully in all of the research that we did as part of this study, is the desire from employers to see the government guarantee the employment status of EU nationals. But we think we should build on that and actually guarantee the employment status of EU nationals in employment up to the point where the negotiations are completed, because it's only then that we'll know what the rules are. Until we know what the rules are, it's unfair to retrospectively introduce rules that would not guarantee the status of EU nationals. What we're trying to do is build on the existing architecture that the government's put in place in the form of the points-based system, but create more flexibility within it, decrease the costs. So one of the things we're looking to do, for instance, is halve the sponsorship fee, especially for public sector employees who don't have the flexibility to raise pay. But we're also offering routes other than the labour shortage occupation route, such as extending the youth mobility scheme. Many will know that the Australians and Kiwis, among other nationalities, are able to come into the country for a period of 2 years to fill unskilled or low-skilled roles. It strikes us because of the proximity advantage of EU countries that we could build on that and give all EU nationals between 18 and 30 the right to live and work in the UK. And in addition, we also think that partly because of the fall in university applications from the EU, but also to build on the skills expertise of graduates that are coming out of our system from the EU, there should be a post-study worker route that gives EU graduates the right to live and work in the UK and not necessarily have a job offer for a period of 2 years. Well, I think the first step is to audit their workforce to ensure that, especially if you are a low-skilled employer, to ensure that if migration restrictions are introduced, you're not caught short-handed. and look to plan for the future in terms of your workforce development strategy. What I think many employers should be looking to do is essentially review the recruitment strategy at the same time. So we're already hearing of many employers, especially in the retail sector, that say that, to quote one employer, they become lazy at recruitment. And what we're now having to do is target other groups in the labour market, such as women returners, groups where there is additional capacity to recruit from, which some acknowledge they haven't done to date. Raising pay and employment conditions could be an obvious answer, but there are other subtle things, such as looking at the job design, the job role, how you engage with local schools and colleges to drum up more interest in the roles. So there are a variety of techniques and strategies that employers could adopt to generate more interest, because ultimately we know that some employers are not doing all of those things and could be doing those things.